G'day, welcome to Wild Wisdom and the very first video. What we're going to do is a series of multi-day trips over the next few months, and we're going to go into the New Zealand outdoors in a variety of locations through the North Island, and we're going to try and put into practice a number of survival and bushcraft skills in a New Zealand context. So I know there's a lot of stuff on YouTube about survival and bushcraft, and a lot of stuff that's very well presented by experts, but it's quite a different story putting them into practice in a real life situation. So we're just going to head on out and see what happens. So nothing's really planned. It's going to be unscripted, unplanned, off the cuff. There's bound to be a few mistakes, a few cock-ups. There's going to be probably something's going to go wrong. We're going to have to learn from that, and we're going to have to adapt and improvise. So that's the way I want it to be, and it's going to be a bit of fun. It's going to be hard because I'm also adding in a couple of new other elements to make it more of a challenge. Firstly, I'm going to take no food. Now, in the New Zealand outdoors, that's a harsh call to make because, as you'll see, there's not a hell of a lot to eat out there. The energy value we get from a few berries and a few plants is not going to meet our needs without killing something, and that means a form of protein in the form of fish or an animal. Realistically, of course, we can't touch birds these days. They're all protected. So that's going to be tough. It's also at the moment midwinter, so it's cold, everything's wet. Even lighting a fire is going to be a challenge. So we'll see what happens. We're going to give it a couple of nights and see how that goes. From here on out, we'll sort of add a few more days into the equation and see how we cope. So I thought we'd go through our gear list for a start. Also, we're going to do these trips based on the Alone program. So I'm going to be taking minimal gear. I've got my 10 items and we'll go through those shortly. I want to add in at this point too that don't try this at home unless you're very confident in your skills and you've had a fair bit of experience. You're probably wondering why a grey-haired old farmer like myself is doing something like this, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in the next couple of nights, probably once we get camp set up and get a brew going on the fire. I'll have a bit of a yarn about what I've done and why I'm taking this challenge on. So let's go through the gear. Okay, first up we've got our 10 items here. I've got a bow. It's just a Black Hunter 45-pound longbow. It's pretty budget, but I've got 4 arrows. As you see, I had to jimmy up a bit of an arrow holder on the side with some duct tape and a bit of alkathene pipe off the farm. Nothing flash there. This was actually taken off one of the kids' compound bows they used to use when they're about 6 years old, but I think it'll do the job. I've got an old, this used to be an old slash that's been cut down to a machete. It might be useful. That there, in case you're wondering, is a sheath, and it's made from an old set of chainsaw chaps. So yeah, a bit rough, but she'll be good. Ferro rod. This is just a little, I guess it's about 4 inches, getting a bit worn out now, but don't really like the things much. But anyway, we'll take that and we'll see if we can get a fire going. If not, we'll freeze to death. Good sleeping bag. That's just the Domex Hello Plus, rated to about -17, but it's the one I use usually up on the tops in the winter. A little bit of paracord, which might be useful for tying up something. This old pruning saw may or may not use. It's a piece of crap, quite honestly. I found it out in the shed. You'd probably be lucky to skin a bloody banana with that, but anyway, we'll give it a go. Taking a pot and a fry pan instead of a big cast iron camp oven, simply because I'm going to have to carry my gear for a couple of hours. And I'm going to cheat and take a cup. Probably don't need to, but I'm going to this trip. A little bit of wire in case I'm going to snare a possum. A Leatherman. This is a real old multi-tool. It's actually got a broken blade on it. That's why I've got a pocket knife as well. So a few meters of line. There's probably 10 meters of line, half a dozen hooks. I've made a couple of flies in there from some paracord, and a couple of homemade lures from a toothbrush. I want to see how they go as well. Also, I've just got a little bit of GoPro gear, a couple of power banks, PLB. I think it's pretty critical anywhere in the outdoors these days, especially in New Zealand. We've got some pretty rugged terrain. Yeah, a little bit of GoPro gear, tripod, some full change of clothes, a light down jacket because it's going to be cold as hell up there today. Raincoat, boots, torch and batteries, a couple of bags. Since I'm not taking that many clothes, I'm taking a couple of extra bags to put stuff in as we go. Maybe, you know, whatever we can forage. This is my tarp, or my fly actually. Nobody carries a tarp in the hills, so this is just a little Stony Creek drone. It's about 3 meters by 2.8, and that'll be adequate. A couple of dry bags because we're going to be walking up a river. The potential is to arse up and get wet, so putting the gear in the dry bags. So all in all, that's our gear. Not a lot. No food, of course, not even a bloody tea bag. So yeah, I think less talk now, more action. We'll lace up the boots and get on Shank's pony and cut a track. See you there. Well, we've just reached the road end. We're out on the riverbed now, so the plan is to head up this gorge behind me for a couple of hours. Hopefully get up into some more undisturbed country where maybe there's the odd trout and hopefully a few deer. We're going to be taking it quite slow because this time of year is quite a good chance of being a bit of ice around the rocks, and the last thing I want to do is arse up and have an injury. So take it nice and slow. We're keeping an eye out for anything that's edible along the way, any good tinder for a fire tonight. I'm not quite sure where we're going to camp or exactly what's going to be there even, so anything that's food or edible, we're going to chuck it in the pack and see what we end up with. So let's get into it. I think one of the first things we'll do is we head up the riverbed. So we'll try and find ourselves a good walking stick. A good pole or stick makes a huge difference to your stability in a rough riverbed like this, especially as you get a bit older, like I am. I've got a dodgy knee as well. Back in the days when I was a young fellow, I used to run up and down these boulders like a newborn lamb, skipping from one to the other, but those days are over, I'm afraid. So a good walking stick, pretty hard to beat. Comes in pretty handy too when you're crossing the rivers on your own. Helps prevent a spill into the icy water. And the last thing that I need this time of year, as I said before, it is midwinter. We've had a series of big frosts lately, 33 of them actually. So it's been sub-zero most mornings. Fortunately it was very light frost this morning, but there doesn't appear to be any ice on the rocks, but I'm still going to be taking it pretty careful. The water's going to be absolutely bloody freezing up here. Our first crossing is coming up, and I'm not particularly looking forward to it, because that means for the rest of the day I'm going to have frozen, cold, wet feet. So hopefully we'll get a good fire going tonight. We can thaw out a bit. I've got my eyes open for anything that's edible. I'm thinking there's actually some mamaku fern up there, and hopefully there'll be a bit of mamaku up where we're going. We might be able to get something off that. Okay, first river crossing coming up. I found a walking pole here from a bit of driftwood, so get into this cold water. Ooh. There we go. Hasn't quite soaked into my socks yet. Ooh, knee deep. Definitely bloody cold. We're on the north facing side of the river here, and I found this flax which has got a bit of nice dry dead material underneath here, so we're going to scavenge up a bit and chuck it in our pocket, try and use it as a fire lighter tonight. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's actually a really nice trout. It's just gone out into the pool over here. Trouble with the water being so clear up here, so very, very spooky. So it's going to be hard work trying to catch a trout with no rod later on. So I'm not going to fish here. I'm going to carry on up a bit further, see if I can't get into some water that's not fished quite as often. Okay guys, I've just found this little mamaku tree fern on the side of the riverbank. It's got a little koru on it, so I'm going to cut a bit off it to take with us to eat. Trouble with a lot of the big mamaku tree ferns is they're really tall, and it's hard to find one that's accessible. So I'm just going to whack off 2 or 3 of the leaves here, and hopefully get a bit of food off that later on tonight. Yeah, as you can see, we're working our way up the riverbed. There's a beautiful big slip area here behind me, which is a hot spot for deer. No good for a bow, of course, unless we can shoot about 300 yards. I think we're going to struggle. With my bow skills, I've got to get down to about 2 yards, so I think the deer are going to be pretty safe unless we strike it lucky, but you never know. One thing about hunting is that you do never know what's going to happen. As they say, expect to see game when least expected. Okay, here's what we've got. Some pieces of mamaku frond, which we'll cook up on the fire tonight. A couple of koru. Looks like a pair of gorilla testicles to me, but anyway, we'll give it a crack and see what happens. Just a note on river crossings. Even though this river is low at the moment, there's not really any dangerous crossings as such, but it would only have to come up about another foot, and we'd have to be pretty careful, pretty selective about where we're crossing. Rivers in New Zealand are one of the biggest killers in the outdoors, and you can never be too careful as far as I'm concerned. Even a shallow crossing like this can end up in disaster if you're not a bit careful. It only takes a wrong foot placement, slipping up, falling on the cold rocks, injuring an ankle or breaking a bone, or just getting wet and cold. I mean, you don't need that. You've got to be super careful and just think about it all the time. If there's more than one of you, of course, just grab hold of each other's packs and use each other for support. If you're on your own, good walking pole is critical. And just go with the flow, pick your crossings, you know, don't rush it. I've just come up out of the river just to get round a deep pool down there on a little bench in the bush, and I've stumbled across this caramoo. Pretty sure it's caramoo. Has a few ripe berries on it. Not a lot, but you take what you can get, eh? So I'll show you. As I say, we're not going to get super fat on them, but you know, when opportunities pop up, you've got to have a crack at it and get whatever energy you can from what's around you. Okay, I've just stumbled out onto the base of a slip here, which has got quite a bit of grass on it. You see behind me. There's also a few patches of onga right here. Now, I've stopped to chuck on a glove, so you know what I'm about to do is I recommend you do not try this yourself at home. All the guidebooks will tell you that onga is toxic and dangerous, and it does have a very nasty sting. But I have trialled this by scratching the hairs off it and boiling it up. I found it to be edible, so I'm going to take a bit with me and give it a crack later on. I prefer to find a dwarf bush nettle, which grows on the forest floor, because I know that's good to go. This stuff here, I don't think you'd want to eat too much of it in any one sitting. Like any new food really, you just really should give your stomach time to adjust. But anyway, we're going to grab a bit of this and as a bit of a backup for later on. Okay, well up the gorge now, and I've just seen a couple of fish in this pool in front of me. They're probably in spawning mode, they're chasing each other around a bit, so I'll try and point them out, and then we're going to try and set up a rod of some kind and have a crack. Yeah. Right, what I've done, I've fashioned a hillbilly rod here out of a stick I found down by the creek. Attached a bit of paracord to it, probably about 2 metres, and then a piece of paracord that I've stripped the inner out of, and I've got a nylon on the end about 2 metres, so I'm not sure how it's going to go. I've made a little rod tip out of a piece of wire that I had, and I've scavenged around, found some bait. How's this for a worm? Be a ripper. If I don't get a fish with it, I might have to eat it myself. I've also got a couple others, so I'll give them a crack and see what happens. Well, as you can see, that didn't work very well. Got the bait out there right, but they're really spooky, so we're going to have to try another pool. Well, we've been on the go for about 4 hours up through this gorge. I'm wet up to my shorts and cold. Looking forward to getting into a camp and getting a fire going, getting warmed up. Fishing's been terrible. There hasn't been a lot around. I'm hoping upstream maybe. Perhaps they've moved on for spawning. Anyway, I've reached a point in the river here where I can't cross it. I can't get round the side this way. It's cliffy. I'm going to have to cross over and get into the junk up into the scrub there and beat my way up the side. It's only just up further I want to actually camp, so it looks like not a bad area. Hopefully a bit of a deer sign, and we'll get up there and have a look. Well, we've got to get there first, so we'll see if we can get around this stuff over here. Well, I'm in a bit of a predicament here. I've been looking around for a halfway decent campsite, and I've seen nothing for ages. There's really nothing flat, nothing reasonably dry. I've been up the ridge behind me here and had a look. You'd probably camp up in there at a pinch, but it's a long haul from the water. It's quite rough and quite hard to get around. So I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and camp on the rocks down here by the river. It's not ideal. There's a little bit of a sandy spot just in here, but it's quite damp. There's a flat enough area there to make a bit of a bed. I'll put up a tarp between those trees. The bonus is that I've got some handy water. There's probably enough driftwood around to get a fire going. Also, I can look at these big slips up here behind me in case the deer pops out. Not that I'm likely to shoot one up there, and they're probably realistically going to smell the smoke from the fire and disappear anyway. But never mind, there's a few marks around, you just never know where they're going to pop up. We've only got a couple of hours of light, so I need to get my A into G and get things sorted out. I've got nothing to eat. Haven't been able to find a trout. I've got a few bits of mummiku and some stinging nettle to chew on, so it could be a long night. So we'll get organised, and we've still got time. We'll have another poke around, see what else we can find. Oh, well, there's camp set up. Pretty basic. Pile of ferns under there for a mattress. Couldn't even find many ferns actually, but it'll do for tonight. Next stage is to get a fire going, so we'll have a crack at it. Like everything with a fire, preparation is critical, especially when everything's damp like it is at the moment. So I'm hoping this tinder will light, but we'll see what happens. Use the back of my saw blade for striking. It's got a better edge on it. That actually went bloody well. I thought it was going to take me ages. I've never had a fire go so easy, so I won't talk too soon, but get it established properly first, but it's looking promising. Can't beat having that dry tinder that we picked up earlier on. That bit of cabbage tree leaf, toy dead. Anything dry and fluffy like that is what you want. This sort of stuff here, proper flax. Once we've got our fire going, we'll get some decent logs on there and hopefully build up some coals so it makes it easier in the morning. No risk of fire getting away here in this time of year. Summertime you'd want to be a bit careful where you're lighting it because there's a fire ban on. You'd be thinking twice about it. Come on, baby. The wood's still very damp. We'll have to look around and find a bit more, so I think we'll go. Well, it's probably only half an hour off dark. Fire's been going well. We've got a brew on. We've had a cup of tea of mingy tea. Funny enough, I'm struggling to find something suitable to brew up a tea here. There's plenty of options. We're just going to look at a different part of the forest. We do have some nettle there, which we'll probably use. There, I'll show you what dinner is. It's nothing flash. Hard rations really. This is the ongonga that we picked this morning. I've scratched off most of the stings, still a few on there, but they should lose their effectiveness once we boil it up, so it should be good to go to eat. This is a bit of the mummiku kuru. It's slimy and
pretty tasteless, but we'll cook it up and it'll be better than nothing. Other than that, pretty hard rations tonight. Hopefully tomorrow we can get up the river a bit further, try and find some trout. Should be some up here somewhere. I'll have a look after dark and see if there's any eels floating around. There's a nice pool just up here. Otherwise, hopefully trout tomorrow. Keep an eye out for deer, and we'll see what other vegetation's around. We'll have a good scout around up the side of the hill tomorrow, get up into some different forest, and hopefully come up with the goods. I'm thinking I'm not going to have anything for breakfast, so probably by lunch tomorrow we're going to get a bit tired and lethargic, so we'll have to come up with something. Never know, a possum might come out of the woods after dark, and if that happens, well, he's in big trouble. So anyway, we'll get warmed up, have a bit of a feed, dry out a bit, hopefully get some sleep, and go from there. Well, it's dinner time. I'm not sure if you can see this, but I'm going to show you what's on the menu tonight. It's actually pretty good. So we've got mamaku and stinging nettle, and it's a bit like potato. It's actually quite tasty. And a brew of juice as well, a cup of tea, and she's all good. I've just heard a couple of deer over on the slip behind camp on the shingle scree. They're obviously walking across it. It's pitch black. I can't see anything, but you never know, there might be something around in the morning. Catch you then. Well, we're in our sleeping bag, nice and warm and dry. Had something to eat. Day hasn't been too bad. Didn't go quite to plan, which was the plan. We always knew it was going to be going to be a few uncertain things. So we've got to manage to get a feed, but hopefully tomorrow we can get some protein in the system and get a bit of energy going. Otherwise we're going to be in a couple of days time we're going to be pretty flat. Otherwise all good. Fire's been stoked up. I've got a nice big log on there. Hopefully there's still some good embers there for the morning, and we'll see what the day brings. It's a bit cloudy out there at the moment, so I don't think there's going to be a frost, but it could change over the night too. So anyway, it's all good. Bring on tomorrow. Well, it's morning time finally. It's been a long bloody night. Tossed and turned all night. I feel I must have had every hard lump on this damn ground. I have to make some better cushioning tonight, that's for sure. Not that it's cold as well. It's cleared up in the night. The stars are out, and I suspect there's a frost. So never mind. Hopefully we'll get a good day. I'm going to get up, stretch some legs, and try and get our fire cranked up and get a brew on the go. Get some tucker. Getting bloody hungry already. Anyway, I'm up and at 'em. Well, we managed to get the fire cranked up again. There was no coals left, but the old fire rod did the trick. The old fire steel. Got a brew on the go. Nothing flash, just a brew of that mingy tea. It's a bit weak, but it's alright, I suppose. And we've chucked some of the last of our mamaku fronds in the pot to have a bit of a boil up, because we've got to get something in the old tummy this morning. Plan is to head upstream for a couple of hours. Absolute max. If we don't see a fish, we'll get a fish in a couple of hours. We'll abandon fishing and we'll focus on whatever plants we can find, and we'll maybe have a look for a deer as well. Certainly want to get some more mamaku for tonight. Hopefully a bit of hound's tongue, maybe a bit of nettle. I don't know, see what pops up.
Looks like the day's going to be a cracker, so that helps. So we'll get on to it. Well, we're going to be going about an hour from camp, and I've struck a gnarly obstacle just up the river where there's a bit of a cliff face. There is a route down, but I'm not feeling 100%. Not only that, I'm a bit sick of the river, to be honest. It's bloody cold, everything's frozen, my hands are frozen, my feet are frozen. I've seen no trout. My gut feeling is that the fish have gone up into the headwaters for spawning over the winter period. So that's it for fishing. I've had a good crack at it. I've seen a handful in the lower river, but nothing up here where I'd hoped to fish. I think what I'll do is I'll head up out of the river here, higher up the side of the hill. It's steep as hell, but we'll get up there and see what sign there is for deer, see what the vegetation's like, see what we can find. I don't hold out much in the way of hope, but you've got to be optimistic and have a crack. I did find one small bit of mamaku this morning, so I've got one kuru. Hopefully find some more up there somewhere. At least get up there in the side of the hill where the sun's shining and fall out of it. We've climbed up out of the river, probably about 300 metres into some really open mahoe and five-finger forest. There's obviously a few deer around. It's quite rocky underneath though, it's quite noisy, so I've just stumbled onto this really quite major deer trail right behind me here, and I'm just going to mooch around the side of the hill quietly and see what happens. Pretty hard getting close to deer in open bush like this. Not so bad with a rifle, but with a bow I've got to get within really 20 odd yards. So trying to get a shot without preferably being alarmed, it's going to be the tough call. But you never know, I might find one laying down somewhere. We'll just sneak around there quietly and see how it goes, work our way back towards camp downstream. Find a nice sunny spot. I'm going to stop and have a bit of a spell. Certainly not feeling really energetic, so anyway, we'll keep moving. Well, I've made it up above camp onto the edge of the big slips that you could see just downstream from camp last night, and I've come onto a little clearing up here. Beautiful sunshine, I'm just enjoying it for a while. Tossing up what to do. It's about midday. It's tough country to get around up here, and I'm certainly not feeling energetic as you'd expect, so I may just cruise back down to camp and have a quiet afternoon. I've got to do a few improvements around camp, and I should be able to get over onto the dark side, the shady side of the valley, and hunt up a bit of more mamaku, I suppose. It's about my best bet for something to eat tonight. Yeah, unless I get lucky and a deer pops out in the riverbed, but that's about it. Well, we're back at camp after about 3 hours of bashing around the bushes. I've achieved about 3/5 of F4 really, so not to worry. Humming and hawing what to do. Do I stay here the night or do I move? I know there's no trout around here. It's hard work on the deer. Not too worried about the deer anyway, but could do with something apart from a few ferns and stinging nettle to eat. I might head up back downstream for an hour or so to where we saw those last two trout. It's worth another crack. My biggest concern is finding a place to camp there. They're few and far between, but I figure at the very least it will be a bit closer to the road end in the morning, because come morning, if I don't have much more to eat tonight, I'm going to be looking forward to getting out, and I don't want to have too long a trek, so it'll be a couple of hours as it is. So we'll probably pack up camp, I think, and head off downstream. It's only 1 o'clock, so we've got 4 hours of light. We've got a couple of hours to pack camp and cruise downstream slowly. There's a real gorgy bit down there which is quite gnarly. Be slow going getting through there, and then we'll get out the other side and see if we can find those trout again. Worth a crack. Well, we're back at the road end, believe it or not. Oh, I'm absolutely buggered. I got about halfway down the river and I started having a few issues with an Achilles heel injury. It's flared up, and not only that, but I was just had a complete lack of energy, and I was worried that another night might stiffen up in the morning and I most really struggled to get out. So I've pulled the pin. It's been a tough couple of days. As you'll see, not a lot up there to hunt really. There's a few red deer, but there's no goats or anything. I probably picked a pretty tough time midwinter to have a crack at this. I should have waited till the spring, but yeah, not to worry. The trout fishing was disappointing. I thought there'd be a few more than that. So next time we'll pick a spot it's going to be a bit more productive. I've learned a few things. Certainly it's been tougher than I thought it would be. Yeah, so stick around. We'll do a few more of these trips. I'll get my injuries sorted out and get my health back on track, and we'll do a few more of these trips in different places, and yeah, just hopefully with a better result. But anyway, that's what it's all about. It was never going to be easy. It was a challenge, and I had no plan. So you know, it didn't go to plan, did it? So you never really know what's going to happen. So I'm happy enough. I'm looking forward to getting home, having a cup of tea and a bite to eat, and we'll catch you next time. Well, that didn't quite go to plan.